Welcome back. Our next topic is the issue of charter schools. There are benefits and disadvantages to these programs. Are there any issues you'd like to discuss?
Well, I think charter schools are a nice, pretty band-aid that our government and politicians like to put on our huge education problem we have in our country. We have teachers who, in some cases, don't have degrees, let alone certifications. Sometimes they aren't treated well. They aren't paid for the supplies they bring to their classes, or they aren't really allowed to unionize.
Well, you know, charter schools, just like regular public schools, are open to anyone in the public. You know, the government does supply funds for them. But one of the things that makes charter schools very, well, in positive lights, much better than the conventional public schools is that they have the flexibility to alter their curriculum. You know, if students are struggling in some sort of subject, you know, the charter schools have the advantage that being outside of the district can, you know, completely alter their curriculum to benefit these students. And, you know, these sort of things are one of the leading causes of, you know, rising test scores in charter schools.
However, first of all, charter schools aren't open to every child. When a charter school is formed, it's usually out of a failing public school. The failing public school is dissolved, and the students are kicked out of that school and put into neighboring public schools, which are already filled, usually over capacity. Then a charter school is formed and less students are brought in, either lottery, which obviously does not bring every kid in, or based on academic achievement, or on specific subjects like science or drama or arts. While the smaller group of kids that are in these charter schools usually, it's a smaller group of kids, the rest of the kids who were in the previous public school and are no longer there are in other public schools where they did not receive more teachers or more funding, but they have more students, which means there's more students per class, which means that those teachers aren't able to give their kids the attention and really kind of creativity they need in order to do well.
Well, one thing that you have to take in mind right now is that, you know, charter schools, they're, you know, the government funds them, and they're funded 61% compared to their counterparts in public schools. So if a public school student is funded $10,000, these charter school students are funded $6,000. You know, that's a much smaller rate per student than the public schools. And, you know, these charter schools are opening throughout the country. You know, there's about 5,000 charter schools serving about 1 million students, and within the last 2 years, over 400 charter schools have opened in about 39 states.
However, in terms of the economic benefits of charter schools, most of the times that charter schools close, it's because there's been economic mismanagement in the higher officials of the charter schools. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of the reasons is that most charter schools are run by for-profit companies who end up viewing the students as simply numbers rather than students who deserve to learn and learn in different ways. When you start looking at a school like a business, which a lot of these companies do, you forget that you're supposed to learn instead of get test scores to get more money from the government. Also, there's been issues of embezzlement within charter schools. So while it does not get as much funding from the government, the economic benefits aren't always there when there's economic mismanagement flourishing within charter schools. Also, while more charter schools are opening, I challenge you to find out which ones should actually be closed or open. One of the things that a lot of proponents of charter schools talk about is how after 5 to 10 years the charter schools looked back at and they see whether or not they're failing or not. Most of the time that they are failing, they are not closed for a couple of reasons. one, a lot of people view it as hypocrisy that the standards in which charter schools are held at, what is failing for them is average for the public schools near them. Also because of the involvement that the parents and community have in charter schools. They don't want to send their kids to another school when they're already settled in, or they don't want to lose the amount of control they're able to put in their child's education, or they don't want to see their hard work go to waste. And also because an unwillingness of charter schools officials to close down schools that had a lot of time, money, and effort put into opening them.
You know, well, charter schools, the community plays a large part in, you know, opening these charter schools up, and the parents are really the ones that put their children into these schools. So the teacher-student, you know, the teacher-student relationship is very important. And, you know, within the charter schools that have been open for more than 5 years have higher achievement rates than any public schools that have been established for much longer periods of time. You know, a Brookings study says that the charter schools are rising sharply in all academic fields, and even a Harvard study states that charter schools are proficient in math and reading, even among African Americans, Hispanics, and low-income individuals.
When was that study done?
This was done in 2004.
You see, I have a 2009 Stanford study that shows that there's been an increase in failing test scores in charter schools in comparison to their public school twins, especially within the Hispanic and African American students. They are failing in comparison to they are not doing as well as their public school twins are, which shows that not only are there economic mismanagements, teachers not being treated well, and failing schools still there, the kids are not being served. The kids are still failing their test scores despite the amount of money we've spent on building these charter schools, despite the fact that we have not spent time on education reforms that we should, because we've been trusting charter schools.
Back, everyone. Now we're going to be discussing the topic of student loans. Who do they benefit and how?
Alright, so we all know that college is very synonymous to expensive, because college, you know, it's hard to pay for, tuition rates are high, and also because you have to work your little butt off in order to succeed. You know, there's no free chances in college. And even though a handful of families are able to pay for college, many families cannot. And fortunately, nowadays, there are many outlets possible to pay for college. For example, student loans seem to be like the most popular way to pay for college, and you know, scholarships and work study are also available. However, a loan has its little, you know, on the fence issues, because sometimes it's the only way that a student can actually go to college. However, because it's borrowed money, every time you don't pay, every year that goes by without paying it, you owe, and interest increases, so you owe more money than the year prior. And for example, in February 2010, 730 billion students of student loans were owed, with a small percent of 40% of payers actively paying it. So I strongly believe that ways to lessen financial burdens are through scholarships and through work study programs. For example, a scholarship can just be described as, you know, free money. You know, you get the money, you go run. In a student loan, you get the money, but you have to repay it, and there's no compromise. I mean, you cannot get out of a student loan payment of debt. For example, even if you die, your families are still expected to pay for the loan. For example, when you don't make a house, when you fail to make a house payment, the owner of the house can just tell you, "Sir, please give me the keys," and you can say, "Yes, here you go." You know, a compromise has been accomplished, whereas in student loans they cannot. And there are like a variety of student scholarships available, both nationwide and locally. For example, in the nation, the Gates Millen Scholarship actually offers the student the full ride to college. You know, And however, this presents a problem because these prestigious scholarships actually scare students because they believe that their GPA is not high enough or their writing skills are not that high. But however, scholarships today celebrate diversity, as there are a variety of athletic, science, and music scholarships that offer a generous amount of sum for scholarships with no GPA requirement. And local scholarships seem to correspond to this trend because many local scholarships are church activities, service clubs, and and within athletics in the school. And I strongly believe that regardless of the amount, a student scholarship beautifully lessens the financial burden of a student.
You're right, there are a lot of scholarships, but you're forgetting about those undocumented students. There aren't that many out there for them because most scholarships require your citizenship, you have to put your social security number, but there is the AB 540 that's designed for them, which is a law that allows qualified undocumented students to pay in-state tuition rather than out-of-state. For example, a study in 2009-2010 shows that the total average cost for UC in-state was $9,285, while non-resident students are $32,000. And the Cal State one would be $4,000, non-resident would be $11,000. But you have to qualify in order to get that lower cost. And to qualify, you must have attended a California high school for 3 or more years, state that you will apply for legal residency, and not hold a visa immigrant card, non-visa immigrant card. Undocumented students could also get private loans, which citizens could also get, but with that they check your credit history, you have to have a cosigner, and us as students we usually don't have cosigners. Well, we do, but like our credit history, we don't really have one, and if your credit is below 650 or your signer is, you won't get approved for many loans, and your payments will be ridiculously high. But in 2007-2008, the average student loan debt was $23,000, excluding the plus loans. So as tuition goes up, the price is going to get higher.
Well, I agree that student scholarship eligibility is an issue of concern. Actually, in 1996, there was a law passed that prohibited illegal aliens to receive in-state tuition for public higher education institutions. However, nowadays, major U.S. states, like for example California, Texas, and New York, have passed laws providing in-state tuition benefits to illegal aliens who have attended high school in the state for 3 or more years. And there are a few scholarships available for undocumented students, and and sometimes these scholarships don't even require a social security number or even a legal U.S. citizenship. However, for example, the Maldef Scholarship, the Mexican Americans Legal Defense and Educational Fund, is a great example of a scholarship dedicated for undocumented students and their families who want to pursue a higher education.
I've looked at the Maldef Fund, and they have a lot of scholarships, but a lot of them have these requirements where you need nominations, you need great SAT and ACT scores, and your GPA needs to be great, so it's still very hard to get those.
Aside from scholarships, there are work-study programs. Federal Work-Study provides part-time jobs for both undergraduate and graduate students for those who need financial aid. And college campuses offer an assortment of work-study programs, for example, major-related jobs, basic clerical work, and community services. And in the last academic year, 2010, the average work-study award was of $1,524 per semester. And I just believe that work-study introduces a student to a professional environment unless they've gone like a job before. And it provides unity and it strengthens the student's resume as well. And it also because it's money given to you, so you can easily just sign it over and it pays off a part of your tuition and loans as well.
Work study is there, but it's never promised. You can get it your first year, and then next year they just take in a bunch of more admitted students, and your work study job is taken away. So you have to sign up for more loans. So it's not always there, so you can't rely on that.
Thank you for joining us on the BS News Hour. Tune in next Jan term for another round of BS discussion. Thank you for joining us on the BS News Hour. We look forward to you joining. Thank you both for joining us.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, normally you count, so that's
all right.